town where I was born lived a man who sailed to sea, and he told...
Hey everybody, Sol here. I have only one rule here. If it's animated, I'll comment on it. And back when I was a shitty teenager, I used to be super into like death metal and symphonic metal and hard rock and just metal, you know, the kind of fucking edgelord music that made me the dark goth soul that I was. But I also really liked the Beatles. Like, really liked the Beatles. Like for 6 months, okay, I was like obsessed with the Beatles. I still really like their music today, though I'm not really obsessed with them anymore, but now I think it's a perfect time to take a look at their animated opus, Yellow Submarine. God knows I could use a smile after the shit I've been through lately. Yellow Submarine is a 2D musical animated film produced by Apple Films, King Features Syndicate, and TVC London, and is based on the song of the same name, written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney for the Beatles' 1966 album, Revolver. The film was released theatrically in 1968, with the American version being altered to remove the Hey Bulldog sequence due to runtime concerns. In 2012, a fully restored 4K version of the film was released on DVD and Blu-ray, with the restoration being done entirely by hand, frame by frame, without any digital software being used. Okay, it's time to picture ourselves in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies as we take a look at Yellow Submarine. So here's where I normally start off by giving a bit of an introductory sentence before diving into the plot of the movie or series I'm reviewing, but what plot? This movie doesn't have a plot. Okay, things do happen in sequential order, but that's not really the point of the whole experience. Well, anyway, the film goes as follows. In the music-loving paradise known as Pepperland, which exists 80,000 leagues beneath the sea, one wonders how nobody down there drowns, but who cares, right? Moving on. Everyone in Pepperland is having a right old ball, until the blue Meanies, a race of blue things that hate music and never take yes for an answer, attack Pepperland for being so gosh darn happy all the time. Following the attack, old Fred flees in a yellow submarine and goes on a search to find somebody who can save Pepperland from the encroaching mob of average Tumblr users. And who should he find but the Beatles? So it's up to the Beatles and old Fred to save Pepperland from their incredibly baffling peril. Okay, in all seriousness, this movie does have a structured plot. I'm just being facetious when I say it doesn't. One could be forgiven for not knowing that though, because the plot is completely eclipsed by the prominence of Beatles songs, the unbelievably trippy visuals, and really, really bad puns. Still, I'm not complaining. The movie establishes right from the get-go that the story isn't what's important. What's important is rocking out to some fabulous Beatles songs, and I am 468% on board with that plan. In fact, I'm gonna do it as well. Cue music!
Lady Madonna, children at your feet.
I know I did this sort of joke last episode, but who the fuck cares?
It's me.
Now, in terms of characters, there really aren't any of those. There's certainly people who do things that appear for the majority of the runtime, but calling them characters is a wee bit too generous. Still, we've got the Beatles themselves in all their cel-animated glory, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, who go off to save Pepperland without question. Look, I'm not going to beat around the blunt here. These guys are, for all intents and purposes, complete fucking morons. But they're incredibly charming, lovable morons who bumble their way to saving the day, so there's no facet of me that bears them any ill will. Ringo is probably my favorite though, since he does have one or two moments of actual character that make him stand out from the others. In real life though, my favorite Beatle is John. I mean, I just can't get enough of his buttery cream voice. There's other guys who putter along for the ride, like old Fred, an aging sailor man who takes the Yellow Submarine to find the Beatles, Jeremy Hillary Boob Fudd, a hyper-intelligent nowhere man who speaks almost exclusively in rhyme, and of course the Indigo Intimidators themselves, the Blue Meanies, who invade Pepperland and terrorize the inhabitants, trapping Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and bonking everyone into submission with big green apples. Yes, those are words I just said. As far as antagonists go, you can't get much more simple than a crazy guy who makes weird faces, screams all over the place, and has a nebulous motivation at best. But again, the villains aren't the focus, so who cares? It's all part of the experience. And lordy, what an experience it is! You've probably noticed just from the footage I've had playing in the background that this movie is 31 flavors of weird, but that's actually one of the biggest positives I can give the film. It's so strange and absurd with its situations, set pieces, and designs, and, well, just about everything that I can't help but be completely absorbed by it. It's clear that no less than 40 pounds of narcotics were pumping through the veins of the creators at any given time during the production of this film, which makes it a wholly trippy, surreal, and phantasmagoric experience that invigorates you with a warm, fuzzy feeling of contentment. I don't think I've ever seen a film that makes me smile as genuinely as this one does, and I always find myself grinning ear to ear after each viewing. Not just because of the absolutely lustrous inclusions of some of my personal favorite Beatles songs, like Eleanor Rigby, Hey Bulldog, and Nowhere Man, but because it just has such an enticing energy to it that doesn't give two fucks if it's making no sense whatsoever to anyone with less than a half a year's salary worth of LSD coating their teeth. That's just part of the fun, and that's the key word here. Fun. This movie is just honest to God, completely nonsensical, out of control fun. Not to mention that the original score for the film is pretty sweet too. You'd think that the Beatles songs would get preference and that the regular score would be simple and dull so as to not overshadow them, but no, the original score is teeming with vigor, fully orchestrated, and serves to make that smile on your face ever wider. Look at me! Look how wide my smile is! You'd think that a production like this would be a cheap cash-in to capitalize on the Beatles' astronomical popularity at the time, like the cartoon series, and as such, would have cheap animation as well, but
That's a negatory, good buddy.
for the majority of the movie, it's very smooth and sinuous, with a style that's kinda like heavy metal meets schoolhouse rock, but with less breasts than My Hero Zero, and more awkward puns. It utilizes different types of animation too, such as rotoscoping, limited animation, cutout style reminiscent of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and the most lifelike CG models I've ever seen. Wait, sorry, that's actually the Beatles themselves. All in all, this movie just makes you feel like you've had a warm lantern lit inside your body that just warms you from the inside out and makes you feel all... Oh fuck! Fucking hell, go! Now that the wheat has been thoroughly separated, it's time to do a bit of digging through the chaff. And for everyone's sakes, I'm glad to say that there really isn't much chaff for us to attempt to digest. Still though, I have to be a big ol' meanie here for a moment, and say that this is not a movie you should watch if you're looking for something with a solid through line, discernible narrative structure, character development, or anything that makes a movie an actual, movie. You won't find even a speck of that here. Not that I think that's bad, I'm just stating the obvious in a patently obvious way. If you want to watch an actual movie, then you should get out! One last thing of note is that, well, it's almost impossible to understand what the characters are saying a lot of the time. I'm not sure if it's just my copy, but the audio filtered through time and the tea-stained British accents of the voice actors makes it completely unintelligible at times. Not that I need to hear every last head-shaking awkward pun the Beatles spew out of their clueless mouths, but it's still worth mentioning, I suppose. Yellow Submarine is a psychedelic experience akin to what you might see if you had 105-degree fever and were very near death. But in all honesty, that's just what makes it such an enjoyable experience. If you're trying to watch this movie as a movie, then I doubt you'll find any pleasure in this. But if you take it for exactly what it is, a fascinatingly colorful and energetic rocket ride, utterly bursting with creativity and charm, then I know you'll find yourself on its groovy wavelength before long. With a kick-ass soundtrack, inventive imagery, lively animation, and just a whole whackload of charisma, it truly is a gem shining in the sky of blue and sea of green. I give Yellow Submarine
4 eyes out of 5.
So, Yellow Submarine. Is it watchable? While it may take your brain a few minutes to adjust to the sheer level of craziness and nonsensical imagery on display, I guarantee that once you're on the right wavelength, it will make you smile. Is it enjoyable? Well, if you're looking for all the things that make a film like a real film, then you probably will despise this movie. But if you just take it for exactly what it is, a crazy, unencumbered, energetic experience, then yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, and then some. Is it memorable? fuck, yes it is. And not just on a personal level, but the cultural impact this movie has had over the generations is kind of insane. It helps cement animation as a viable form of expression, not just attainable by Disney and Warner Brothers and Fleischman. It showed that it could be taken seriously, not just from major companies like that. And that, to me, is just another drop in this movie's bucket of awesomeness. And you know, I was all... Well, that happiness was fun while it lasted. Want to stay up to date with all the latest EyeofSol news? You can follow me on Twitter as well as on Facebook at twitter.com/EyeofSol299 and facebook.com/EyeofSol. I update them every day, so if you want to check out news on the show as well as updates, just follow the links here. Holy shit, everyone! Thanks for watching my review of Yellow Submarine. I know it seemed like I was like super happy, smiley in this one, and that's because I really like this movie, and I know some people will say that, oh, you like it because you were obsessed with the Beatles, but no, the truth is I hadn't like listened to the Beatles or watched the movie since I was like 16 years old, so it's been about 7 years since I've last seen the movie, and I still think it's really good. I actually watched it and thought that I would hate it because, oh, my taste has improved or something like that, but no, you know what, honestly, it really is quite a good time, and it really made me smile, it made me laugh in that sort of awkward, weird British pun kind of way, and I just think it's a really good experience, so yeah, maybe you could call me biased, but I don't think that's true. I just think that it's a good experience, and, you know, you don't get a whole lot of stuff that really just makes you smile and laugh like that, so I think that's a huge plus for it. But anyway, if you watch the review, you already know that. So yeah, if you like this review, I'd appreciate a like and a share because that always helps me out, and a subscription to my channel because I really like if you do that. If you want to check out the previous Sol episodes, you can see the annotations playing on the video right now. Or if you want to check out my various social media sites, you can see my links to my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and my Patreon page there on the screen for you, as well as in the description. I'll have some new rewards coming to Patreon very soon. If you have an idea for an animated series or movie you want me to comment on, you can leave me a message in the YouTube comments on any one of my social media sites, or just let me know in any way you can think of to let me know what you want to see, and I'll add it to my list. Okay? Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you next week for my very first Patreon-sponsored review.